Diary.
Let me say that one more time for the camera. In a sense, so I'm counseling myself. So Marcus Aurelius's journal, it was never called Meditations, right? And this is from Gregory Hayes, the guy who wrote the foreword to the book. He's the one who translated it from its language that it was written in, which is Greek. Greek is a philosophical language that can express philosophical ideas better than we can in this language that we speak, which is English, right? And that's why they were more philosophical, is because they had more words and more feelings and more, connection to that. And Latin, that's why losing the Latin language is so catastrophic and limiting. Because Latin, you can express feelings and phenomena that we cannot even comprehend in the English language.
In any language.
And which is why when you speak tongues, you're channeling the language that expresses everything.
Word.
You know what I'm saying? And you're expressing it, we just don't understand it because we don't understand it. You know what I'm saying? Because we have been taught to not understand it. It's lost. Yeah. We've lost our connection to those things. You know what I'm saying? But which is why people can channel that same language and energy into music and art, which is the dope thing. Because artists are channeling the source creativity. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
It's all about the beehive.
Yeah, anyways, but Marcus Aurelius, so that was a sidetrack. Gregory Hayes, the one who translated Marcus Aurelius's book, Meditation. It's known as Meditations because, meditations are things that you're meditating on or thought. You know what I'm saying? Experiences, being, mindfulness. They said it was more likely, it didn't have a name. But if it were to have a name, he would have called it To Himself. And I think he uses that a couple times throughout the book, which is why Gregory Hayes came up with that conclusion. I have to double check. I haven't looked at that recently. But what I got from it was he would have called it To Himself. So when I journal, I'm writing to myself, right? Another piece of Stoic literature that's out there is documented is their letters. It's called Letters from a Stoic. Now I forget which Stoic wrote them, but it might even been Seneca. You know what I'm saying? Seneca being, the guy who embodied the wisdom of Stoic culture the highest. You know what I'm saying? He was as close to a sage as you can get. A sage is the Stoic ideal. What I strive to be, I know I never will be, but what I aim at. Jordan B. Peterson talks about why it's so important to have something to aim at. Right? So Seneca is a sage of Stoicism, and he had letters, and his letters were called Letters from a Stoic. Well, that's what it's known as. So Marcus Aurelius wrote letters to himself. He was counseling himself as a king. As a king, he needed to dive into his own psychology and counsel himself. That's why he was known as one of the great kings. One of the last good kings, or last good emperors of Rome. That nigga was a real fucking emperor, you know what I'm saying?
Crazy. Marcus
Aurelius. That's why he's so dope. He was the last good. He was a noble, good, leading king. And he did it because it was his duty. He didn't do it for the power. You know what I'm saying? If you read his books, Meditations, those were his thoughts when he counseled himself through his hard situations and times in life. We're learning from his lessons. If you write your own meditations, your own notes, your own letters to yourself, you can learn from your own experiences. That's why it's the most important practice. It's because you're practicing bettering yourself by looking through how you live your life. So how I do it is I'll write to myself, and you could write in any way. There's no specific way. It's free. It's a free canvas. I'll show you mine. My journal is blank. I don't have lines on it because I don't like those limitations. You know what I'm saying? I write as big or as small as I want to add emphasis to the things that I say, like when I spit, when I rhyme, when I speak. You can add emphasis with font, with colors, with fucking highlighters.
I like that. You put no.
So what I do is I'll write through it, and then I'll give it another pass, and I'll read through it again, and I'll highlight the highlights or the lows, right? The things that I go back and say this is important, and the things that I go back and say, oh, this wasn't. Like when I go back and look at these videos, I'm gonna go look at things that weren't as important because I am stoned and I say a lot of things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you know what? I got all these fucking recordings.
But then there are some gems in there that I go in there and get, and that's highlighting. No, that's highlighting.